So this video is just a brief overview of how to use the alignment function in Studio 2014 SP1. So you can access the alignment in two places. Through the welcome page where I am now, and you have this little button here with these three options. You can also click onto the translation memories view, and in here you have the same three options. So I'm going to tackle it from here. First of all, let's just talk about the three options. So you have the align single pair, and if you select this option, what this allows you to do is to select a single source file and a single target file, and also a translation memory, and as soon as you click on OK, they will open up in the editor for editing. If you use the align multiple files, this will take you through a menu that was very similar to the previous version of alignment where we didn't have an editor. So you can add complete folders of files or just lots of files, and then either do the quick alignment without opening up the editor as we had previously in 2014. So if you had a rush job on a Friday night and somebody had given you 300 files to align, you could still use the quick method and not spend any time, waste any time aligning files that may never be useful to you. But if you wanted to do a proper aligning project, you can. So if I just click on that one to show you what happens, you get this extra box down here now, which is save alignment result files for later review. So if I check that, then I will create alignment project files so I can open it up and do a proper alignment job. If I don't check it, it will go through the process exactly as it did in the previous version and just align the files based on whatever percentage you set. But I'll cancel that for the time being, and I'm just going to do this align single file pair just to walk through the process of using the alignment editor. So I click on that. First thing I have to do now is add or create a translation memory. I have a translation memory waiting for me here, so I'm going to use this one, going from English to Welsh, and I'll pick on the English source file. I've just made these files up, by the way. I've just pinched them off the internet and did a quick Google Translate into Welsh. So the translation is probably not very good, but it's just for the purpose of the alignment. And then pick the Welsh source file, so I've got my two files, and I click on Finish. And these will now open up in the alignment editor, allowing me to edit these files. And the first thing to notice is what I also did was I added some lines so they don't align the files. And as you can see, it's actually aligned segments with these new lines, which clearly is wrong. And I end up with quite a difficult alignment because the files are not matching at all. I think I did it somewhere else in the file as well. I'm sure it's down there somewhere. But there's a few things to correct in there. We'll probably get to it in a second. Oh, there we go. Added a couple of lines in there as well. There's also some natural problems as a result of full stops and different types of paragraph information, but we'll get to that. So the first thing I'm going to do, the first tip really, is that when you're doing this alignment, if you have this kind of a situation, the easiest thing to do, instead of messing around with all these numbers, all these lines, which is quite daunting, is to disconnect them all. And then just pick a couple of lines which are likely to be correct. Align them properly, confirm them, and then realign using this realign button over here. So I'm going to disconnect them in a second, but I also just wanted to point out something else, which is that these colors are there for a reason. So if the colors are red, Studio doesn't think it's necessarily a very good alignment. Clearly it isn't. If they're green, then it has more confidence. So for example, that one there, and Mandy Cohen, can't see very well because it's on a big slope, but it's actually green, so Studio knows that that's probably quite a good alignment. It's also dotted because it's not confirmed. To confirm it, you would confirm that particular segment. But I'm going to disconnect them all, so I'll disconnect the lot. And what I do now is I go through and I manually confirm a few alignments that I know are pretty good. So I'm going to take 4 and 4 because these appeared just before I added the new line. And when I click on these numbers, you can see they go yellow. So ignore the blue. Whatever is yellow is what's going to react to the commands that I do next. Now there's several ways to align these. I can either click on connect, and this will align them. I'll just press Ctrl Z to undo that. I could also right click and use connect, or I can also use a shortcut, Ctrl Shift D. And the final one that I can do, I can also use a drag and drop, so I can come back in here like this, whoops, sorry, and I can drag and drop between the segments, and I can align them with that. My preferred method when I'm doing this, just because it seems to fit quite nicely to the way I work, is just to right click and select that. So for the rest of these alignments I'm going to use the right click method. So I've done that one. These are all new and they shouldn't be here, so the next one down there is 11 and 5, so I'll just connect those two together. So I've now connected and ignored those ones in the target altogether because they're clearly not correct. And I then just scroll down a little bit, and you'll notice that whilst it is all a little bit all over the place, if I scroll down slowly a bit, when I get to the top there, this now straightens out and it starts to become a little bit more easy to work with. And so now I can just quickly look down here and pick out anything that looks as though it's probably right. And I can see that when I get down to here, the alignment's going to drift again because this paragraph, this exclamation mark has appeared on a different segment. So I want to align these two together. So I pick that one, and then hold down the control segment, the control key, and click again. So now I've highlighted 13, 19 and 20, right click and say connect, and so now I've connected 13 to 19 and 20, so I've joined those up again. And clearly when they're joined, they will go into my translation memory as a single translation unit. So now I can carry on scrolling down here a little bit further. When I get down to the bottom somewhere, perhaps I might like to say, okay, just to help me with my alignment, I've got to the bottom of the page, I'll just align these two because I know they're correct. And what will happen then is it means that as I scroll back up again and I get to the top, it all starts to level out a little bit and becomes a little easier for me to see things. So I can scroll down here, and there's something a little bit odd going on here. It looks like that is really aligned to 49 and 50. So I'll right click and connect those two as well. Scroll down a little bit further. Maybe. Okay, I've got my new lines in here again. So these are additional, so I'm going to take the segments just above those. So I'll take 47 and 55 and connect those, and I'll take 48 and 58 and connect those. So I'll ignore those two. Maybe come down a little bit further, making sure that things look reasonably good. Okay, so I'm just going to align these two because it's got a little bit out of whack as I'm going down here, but these two should actually be aligned together. So if I just connect those, this will level them back up again, which makes it easier for me to see where I'm going. I'll come back down a bit further. Maybe just check this one as well, just so I'm still checking the pages. Okay. Alright, that's enough for now. And so what I'll do then is I'm going to realign the whole document. So I click on realign. So that will now go through and realign the document, but it will respect what I already did because they're now solid green lines, the ones that I checked. They're definitely correct. And it's aligned everything else around those. So that's all now looking a lot better than it was before. Now as I scroll down here a bit further, and I'll just flick through, take a quick look as I'm going along. It's not too hard for me to see whether things have gone awry. So no, so that's correct. So it's automatically aligned those two and joined those together, which is correct, which is good. So I come down here, still working my way down. Okay, that's gone a little bit daft there. So this one here looks as though it should actually be connected to 178, 179 and 180. You can see the comma at the end there should be at the end of segment 164 in the source. So what I'm going to do is I'll disconnect that one. I won't disconnect them all this time because I've started doing some work on this now, and I'll just disconnect the affected ones. And in fact, I think I'll just disconnect a few of them because these are also looking as though they're not quite right. Something's clearly gone a little bit awry with the alignment, so we need to correct that bit, maybe down to there. Okay, that looks about right. Now what I'll do here is now to show you how to correct this. I could do what I've just been doing, but we'll just take a quick look at the alignment edit mode. So I'm going to click on the alignment edit mode, and in here you can see when I do that it brings up checkboxes. and so I can select a number of checkboxes. It's just another way of working. So we'll just pick some of these. So I know that 164, for example, this should really be connected to 178, 179 and 180. So I'll connect those three. And up in the box here now I have a one-to-one and an end-to-end. I need to connect the end-to-end, and it will just connect everything that's matched up on these sides. So it'll connect these three to that one. Click on end-to-end, and that lines those up. I come down a little bit further. I want my 165, that's okay, 166. Okay, 166 looks a bit bizarre, so we'll connect that to 182 and 183 and connect that as well. Okay, and that probably, my guess is the rest will probably sort themselves back out again, I think. So I'll just disconnect the alignment edit mode and click on the align again, the realign, and that's now realigned them, and so now I'm back correct. I can scroll down a bit further and I'm at the bottom of the document and I'm sorted. Okay, so that's the document aligned, and it's now ready to go into my translation memory. Now there's two ways of doing this now and getting it into my translation memory. I can either confirm them all, and if I confirm them all they will all become 100% matches, and then when I import into translation memory every single one of them will go through because they're all 100% matches. If I'm halfway through the document and just wanted to get what I've got so far, then what I can do is I can click on the advanced import as opposed to the quick import, and then when I do that I get to pick the alignment quality value again. And the reason I get this is because if I didn't want to have anything that had not been confirmed, but I still wanted reasonably good matches, I can still use this alignment quality value to import only everything that I've confirmed and maybe everything above 70% or 60% or whatever I thought was an appropriate value. So it still gives you an option on a very large document to be reasonably selective about what you're importing. But in this case, because I've aligned them all and done them all myself, probably the easiest thing to do would be to just confirm them all. And as soon as I do that, they are all now 100% matches. And if I just do the quick import into my translation memory, I'm not going to click it just yet, but if I was to do that, every single one of those aligned segments will go into my translation memory because they're all 100%. So why shouldn't they? Now the other thing I could do, if I wanted to do a bit of quality assurance on this document before I finished, I could save this as an STLXLIF. And if I save it as an STLXLIF, that then gives me the opportunity to open the file up inside the Studio Editor where I could carry out some quality assurance, or I could do a little bit of additional editing that I can't actually do inside the alignment tool here. It's just another option that you could use, and clearly once you've got the STLXLIF you could import that into a translation memory, or you could just update it to a translation memory. But I'm not going to do that for now. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to import into translation memory and do a quick import. Okay, so it gives me a message to say that not all alignment pairs matched my TM import option, so I'm bringing in 134 of the 138. That's because some of them didn't match and they didn't come in, and there's also a lot of duplicates inside here and it won't bring in the duplicates. But we can test this. If I just click on OK, that's now updated them and put them into the translation memory. So if I now just open up the source file, for example, open it up, English to Welsh, and I'll just click on OK. So this opens my source file, and now I can add my translation memory to the project. So I can go to my project settings and add my translation memory. So I'll take the Welsh like that. Okay. Now you see the other thing that's happened here that's interesting is I've got a 99% on this, despite the fact that I know that this is a 100% match. The reason for this is because the default settings put a penalty on any alignment. So you can see the alignment is 1. If I reduce that to 0 now and click on OK, when I come back in you see I now have a 100% match down there, and I can apply that just with a Control T if I want, and if I was to arrow down again I should now be getting 100% matches on all of my translation memories as opposed to the 99% because I've just taken the penalty off. The other interesting thing is that you can see there's some metadata automatically applied to the translation units. So I have the source file, I have the target file, and the quality value, which is 100 because I confirmed it. So if you were doing something in a hurry and you just allowed an automatic alignment, you would also be able to see from here that the quality was pretty low. And if you wanted to, you could even create a filter to filter out anything that was below a particular quality value so that you didn't even see them in the translation memory because they're going to be too bad. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, which I'm not going to go into just here, but that's quite good. And if I was to run a batch task, and let's just save that because it's a single file project, and then pre-translate the file. And next, okay, minimum match value, we'll say 100 because everything should be aligned and confirmed. So we'll run that, close it, reopen it, and hopefully the entire file. Oh, I've got something that's missing. Why does that miss? Duplicate. Why is it a duplicate? Not quite sure, but I've got 2 penalties. The reason it's missed that out is because I have a duplicate translation unit, so I can remove the one of those. I can delete it in here. Click on OK. Now I've only got the one. Control T. I'll scroll down. Maybe I've got a couple of others. That should now be a 100% match because I've removed it. Maybe there was a space in there or something like that. You can see there's a couple of those now, which are now no longer. Yep, all of those are now 100% matches. So there must have been something funny with that caused it to put a duplicate in. Maybe there was an additional space in the end, space at the end, or a space at the beginning, or a space between some of the punctuation. I don't know. But the translation unit was clearly a little bit different. But that looks good. If I just confirm that, maybe we'll just go through and do them all. There we go. So that's the entire file translated. So the alignment worked. So even though it didn't say 188 to use in there, it's translated the entire file. Oh, it's the top one, I missed it. It's translated the entire file for me. And that's the alignment. I hope you find that fairly useful and hopefully helpful.